Okay, thank you, Tom. This is Martin Forsberg, and I will introduce today UBL and cross-industry invoice and some of the background why we have these syntaxes in this context, and also a little bit in the end of the day or of this session, we will see where we can find the specifications and give you some pointers where you can get started. So looking at this from the very beginning, we will have to take a look at the directive as an introduction. So we have many syntaxes in Europe being used, and that has been seen as a problem. And looking at the preamble of the directive, it says that there are a large number of syntaxes in use, and they have been in use for a long time, and it is causing interoperability problems. This is like where we got started with the directive, that it was seen as a good thing if long term we could have a limited number of syntaxes rather than many, and focus on those that are mostly commonly used. So that is found in the preamble of the directive. Also in Article 3, it says that the Commission shall request that the relevant European standardization organization, turned out to be CEN, to provide a list with a limited number of syntaxes which comply with the European standard. So the directive asks, or the Commission will ask CEN to create this limited list. And finally, also in Article 7, it says that all member states shall ensure that the contracting authorities and contracting entities can receive and process e-invoices which comply with the standard using any of the syntaxes on this list. So this list is a very important part, and we will now take a look at that. This request to CEN to create this list, the Commission helped with a set of criteria to be used to evaluate the different syntaxes which were being proposed. And some examples of these criteria could be that, first of all, that it should comply with the e-invoicing data model, that it should be international, open, and free to use, that it has a governance and sustainability model, and to be widely used in EU and worldwide. It's used in production environments and so on. So it kind of ruled out any domestic homebrewed XML or any format. In that sense, it should be focused on international standards. So these were the criteria that the CEN Technical Committee got when starting to work on defining this list. We have here, you can see in the green box, 4 specifications where one has been taken out. These are the syntax bindings provided by CEN TC 434. We have a syntax binding for UBL invoice and credit note. We have a syntax binding for even CEFACT cross-industry invoice. We have a syntax binding for EDIFACT, and we don't have a syntax binding for the invoice based on the ISO 20022 format. It was proposed in the beginning of the work in TC 434, but it was after a while it was decided to take it out for various reasons. So we actually ended up with a list of 3 syntaxes as published technical specifications. So these are available now, and we will take a quick look at how these specification looks on the inside, so that you know what to expect when started to work with them. So these are, but you can see here there are 3 syntaxes provided, syntax bindings provided, also also EDIFACT. The list itself, the list that was referenced in the directive, the list that points out the syntaxes that are mandatory for all public entities to be able to receive, that list is the second specification in this table, the part 2, electronic invoicing part 2, list of syntaxes. So in the end, only UBL and cross-industry invoice qualified to be part of that list. But there are still 3 syntax bindings available. 2 of them are mandatory for the public entities. One is more for information or for those who want to use EDIFACT with the semantics from the European norm. So that is a little bit about the background. So now let's take a closer look at UBL and CII, and I will now I will start with UBL and then CII. I will take a look at the specifications, XML schemas, how namespaces are used, versioning and document types, a little bit of handling of code lists, and then we will take a look at some examples and how the European norm has been mapped, just to give you an understanding of how it can be.